Your National Infrastructure Protection Plan 2013, Partnering Critical Infrastructure Security Resiliency, Homeland Security. Um, Alright, Chapter 6, Call to Action. Step 2, Advance the National Effort. This call to action guide to efforts to achieve the national goals aimed at enhancing national critical infrastructure security resiliency. The activities will be formed collaboratively by critical infrastructure community, federal departments, agencies engaged in the state, local, and territorial, tribal, regional, and private sector partners have taken into consideration unique risk management perspective, priority of the resource constraints. Each of the sector will work together to promote continuous improvement of security resilience efforts to accomplish and tasks below. The actions listed for this section are not intended exhaustive, nor is anticipated that every sector will take every action. Instead of this section intended as a roadmap, give out national progress, allowing and delivering priorities of the different sectors. As such actions listed below provide strategic direction national efforts in the coming years. Call out boxes throughout the section identify the linkage between call active and national goals that provided and presented in section 2. Build up in partnership efforts, select the national focus of the joint developed priorities, determine the collective action with the joint planning efforts, to empower local regional partnership to build capacity nationally, leverage incentives to advance security resiliency, initiative manage risk, and enable risk-informed decision-making through enhanced situational awareness and analyze infrastructure dependency, interdependency, associated cascading effects. Identify assets response. Identify assess responding to unanticipated infrastructure cascading after the damage following incident. Promote infrastructure community regional recovery following incident. Strength coordinated development and delivery, technical assistance, training, education, intent improvement, critical infrastructure security resiliency, advanced research development solutions. 11. Focus on outcomes. Evaluate progress toward achievement of goals. Learn, adapt during and after exercise incident. These actions inform guide efforts and identify VIVA the priority setting, joint priorities planning described below as resources at all. Building upon partnership. Call to action number 1. Set national focus as joint delivery properties. To guide national effort and inform decision, national council structures will jointly set multiple year priorities and review them annually with the input level of the critical infrastructure community. The priorities that will take account of the facing of the national base. SNRA risk assessment. The critical infrastructure of the partner, state, regional, of the threat, hazard, incident response assessment, annual critical infrastructure preparedness report will inform the national priority of the assessment capability gaps. Jointly establish set national and critical infrastructure security resiliency priorities of the federal resource allocation as well as the planning evaluation all levels of the national partnership. Review, validate national priorities annual basis, update with the regular cycle of time with the federal budget development in the state, local, tribal, territorial grant programs. Call 2 to action. Determine collective action with the joint planning efforts of the planning activity of critical infrastructure community should reflect with the national plan with the joint priorities established and call to action. One particular activity should be focused on the sector council, sector council community committee, state, local, tribal, territorial, tribal, regional capacity, increased coordination with the emergency management community. All sectors update with the sector specific plans to support the national plan every 4 years thereafter based on the guidance developed in the Department of Homeland Security collaboration with the site-specific agency and cross-sector councils. The sector-specific plans will reflect joint priorities, address the sector reliance on lifeline functions, introduction strategies, mitigate consequences for the loss of functioning, including potential cascading effects. Describe the approaches to integrating critical infrastructure national prepared in particular transition from steady state with the present recovery with the national response framework, emergency support functions, and then national disaster recovery framework response support functions. Describe the current and planned cybersecurity efforts include but not limited to cybersecurity framework, cybersecurity information sharing and initiative problematic activity, the risk assessment exercise, incident response recovery efforts, and any metrics. Guide development and appropriate metrics and targeted to measure the progress of the toward the national goals and priorities as well as the other sector priorities. As appropriate with state, local, territorial, tribes, the regional entity can develop sector plan with the national plan, sector-specific plans, whether cross-sector or individual sector, articulated and shared priorities, activities of those levels of the SLTTGCC will collaborate with a partnership to provide guidance for the such plan. Federal government will work with the critical infrastructure community provide update guidance and cyber incident response. Call to action 3, empower local and regional partnership to build capacity nationally. Related national goal: enhance critical infrastructure resiliency, minimize adverse consequences. Most incidents of a local nature, local regional collaboration, central integration, critical infrastructure security, resiliency, national preparedness activities nationally and local regional partnership contribute significantly to national efforts, increasing reaching with a national partnership, demonstrating the value of advance of the national goals. Identifying existing local and partnership with addressing critical infrastructure for the security resilience, the focus alignment of the national partnership structure of how to engage them and with them and leverage state and major urban area fusion center to engage local and regional partners. Expand national network critical infrastructure, state, local, tribal, and territorial partnership coalitions complementing enhanced national level focus factors will remain cognizant, very legal structure, different jurisdiction organization. Employ the threat, hazard, incident risk assessment process method of integrating human, physical, or cyber elements, critical infrastructure risk using existing process, facilitate better coordinated planning, resource allocation, evaluation, progress, state and local governments as well, local infrastructure owner operators. Alright, developed advanced joint set of the regional preparedness perspective of the demonstrated integrated action, critical infrastructure risk management plan with the involved with the federal agency responsible for implementing President Policy Directive 8 and 21, working collaborate with the state of the metropolitan rural communities, regional coalitions. Alright, call to action 4, leverage and incentive advanced security resiliency. Related national goals: secure critical infrastructure against threats, enhance critical infrastructure resiliency by minimizing adverse consequences. Alright, call to action 4, leverage incentive advanced security and resiliencies. Government and private sector have shared interest in ensuring viability of the critical infrastructure provision and essential services under all conditions. Critical infrastructure owner operative, often the general greatest beneficiaries and interests of them involved, investing their own interest, resiliency, influence, and social responsibility to adopt the practices. However, the private sector may be justified concern to return security, resilient improvements may not be immediately measurable benefits. Effective incentive that can help to justify the cost, improve security resiliency based on the short-term additional investment. Similarly, near-term benefits, market-based incentive that promote the significant change of the business practices and encourage development in the markets such as insurance, cybersecurity, chemical, biological, radiological risk. In addition, state, localities and explore offering their own incentive to encourage investment, security, and resilience measures. Continue to identify and analyze whether appropriate implement incentives such support research, data gathering to identify potential costs imposed by lack of critical infrastructure, security, resilience, inadequate critical cyber preparedness. Establish initiative challenging program and incentive of new solutions, strengthen infrastructure security resiliency during infrastructure planning, design, and redesigning, including technology, engineering process improvements. Alright, innovating managing risk. Call to action 5. Enabling risk-informed decision-making, enhanced situational awareness, related national goals, sharing actionable, relevant information. To ensure situational awareness capability to keep the pace with the dynamic and evolving risk environmental critical infrastructure, community must continue to improve practice with the sharing information, complying with the knowledge gained with the change of the policy and process of the culture, communicate and promote culture, the need to share, responsibility to provide across all levels and sectors, recognize with the critical infrastructure owners, operators, state, local, tribal, and territorial governments are crucial customers. Provide with the risk information culture is built with a shared understanding. National efforts toward the greater critical infrastructure security resiliency. According to the federal government, will consult with the state, local, territorial, tribal governments, owners, and operators to ensure the intelligence agency that meet their needs and exercise the consistent means for the disseminating intelligence and information security products. This will continue to enhance the NICC, NCIC, other federal sharing resources produced within cross-sector near real-time situational awareness, protective, sensitive information. In addition, the federal government will leverage share line, and policy procedure facilitate sharing accountability portions other than classified, restricted, unclassified reports. Private sector, state, local, territorial, tribal partners, likewise, state and local governments improve the information of the state, local, territorial, tribal officials responsible for critical infrastructure security for resiliency. State, local governments, regional partnership promote greater greater use of state and major urban area fusion centers of the respective jurisdiction regions to inform the information risk assessment, priority development, owners and operators support improvements by giving governing intelligence against analysts of the feedback, information needs, disseminating application other than information provided and products, and sharing information in the federal and state, local, territorial, tribal governments. Undertaking partnerships with wide review, implemented admins information sharing support efforts to address the challenges, develop best practice, legal consideration, classification, several nature of the certain information laws and policy of the governing information dissemination need to build trust among partners. Build upon functional relations with the prescription developed in the President's Policy Directive 21 by further analyzing the functional relationship within the federal government to focus on the critical infrastructure, security, resiliency, identify overlap, inefficiencies, gaps, and recommended changes to enhance situational awareness, risk-informed decision. Develop streamlined standardization process to promote integration, coordinate with the information sharing Viva joint. Develop doctrine supporting standard operating procedures. Develop interoperable standards that enable the more efficiently information exchange with the defined data standards for requirements. One, a foundation information sharing environmental common data requirement, information flow exchange across these two sectors, specific critical information requirements, critical reporting to allow improved information flow reporting, producing more complete with the timely awareness for the security and resiliency. Call to action 6, analyzing infrastructure dependency, interdependency, and associated cascading effects related to the national goal, analyze the threat, vulnerability, the consequent. Grading analyst dependency, interdependency, international, national, regional, local levels can inform planning, facilitating prioritization risk, ensure the continuing critical services mitigate the cascading impacts of the incidents that occur, mature capability identifying, understanding cross-section, sector, physical, cyber dependencies, and interdependencies over the different time frames within international, national, regional, local levels, focus on lifeline functional resiliency, global change during potential highly consequent incident, give their importance to the public health, welfare, and economic activity, continue to evolve cyber-dependent infrastructure identification approach under Executive Order 13636 to consider the potential risk of resolving dependency on information, communication technology, informing preparedness planning, and capability development plan. Alright, call to action 7, identify the assets that respond unanticipated infrastructure cascading effect during and following incidents. The related national enhanced critical infrastructure resilience, minimize adverse affection. Critical infrastructure emergency response planning to exercise also real-world events underscore the need to prepare for the cascading events during the incident. It could potentially magnify the consequent critical infrastructure community, significantly help the national and prepare all hazardous incidents, developing capability rapidly, assess the respond cascading effects, beginning with lifeline functions during following incidents, enhancing the capability with the rapidly identifying assess cascading efforts involving the lifeline function, contributing to identifying infrastructure priorities, both known and emerged during response and recovery efforts, enhancing capability of the critical infrastructure partnership to work with the incident management structure of the ESFs to mitigate consequent disruption of lifeline functions. Alright, call to action number 8, promote infrastructure community regional recovery following incident recovery. Recent incidents highlight the need for long-term recovery capability to enhance security and resilience infrastructure communities regions during the rebuilding, develop such capabilities, critical infrastructure partners, and leverage with existing relationship with engaging spectrum whole community partner activities. Include citizens, nonprofit, business leaders, governmental representatives not usually involved in the infrastructure or security discussions. Leverage federal field staff, including protective security advisors, and encourage state localities to promote consideration critical infrastructure changes in the pre-incident recovery planning, post-incident damage assessment, development of the recovery strategy, support examination initiatives, enhance repair and replace infrastructure, provide a lifeline function during recovery. Alright, call to action number 9, strength coordinated development and delivery of technical assistance, training, and education. Continue executing sustaining risk management activities, prepare organization, professional, meet futures, and critical infrastructure communities must continue to develop and deliver initiative and technical assistance, training, and education programs assess the effectiveness, related national goal, promoting learning and adaptation during the after and exercise incident. Capture report prioritization, technical assistance, training, education near the various partners of the critical infrastructure community. Examine current federal structural, technical assistance training, and educational programs to ensure the support of the national priorities of risk management activities described in the national plan in order to advance the progress toward the national goals. Increase coordinate with the technical assistance, particularly with the Department of Homeland Security and sector-specific agencies, leverage a wider network partners, deliver training and educating programs to better serve the recipients for reach of the wider audience while conserving resources. Partnering with academia to establish updated critical infrastructure curricula that help the critical infrastructure professionals, including executive managers, to manage benefits and inherent vulnerabilities, introduce information communication technology, critical infrastructure assets, and system networks. Alright, call to action number 10, improve the critical infrastructure security resilience and advanced research development solutions related to national goals, security critical infrastructure against threats, enhance critical infrastructure resilience, minimize adverse consequences. All right, President Policy Directive 21 directed the federal government to provide a research development plan to take into account with the evolving threat landscape, annual metrics, relevant information, identifying policy priorities, government guiding research development, and requirements investment, national critical infrastructure resiliency research and development plan will be reissued every 4 years. Intermittent updates as needed. It will focus on the following: promote research and development, enable the secure the resilient design of the construction critical infrastructure, more of the securing the company with the cyber technology, enhancing mobility, modeling capability, determining potential impacts, critical infrastructure incident with the threat of scenarios as cascading effects of the other sectors, facilitating the initiatives of cybersecurity investment, adoption of the critical structure, design feature strength, all hazard security and resiliency, prioritizing efforts supporting strategic guidance of the Department of Homeland Security, and to increase infrastructure security resiliency. Research and development requires coordination and address analytical policy capability gaps, improve risk management capabilities. Owners and operators execute transition research development and operational use research development must be addressed the protection existing critical infrastructure as well as design construction of new infrastructure to interdependency. Priorities may emerge in research development require of their 16 sectors. Of the 16 sectors, both commonly embracing the requirements, discrete requirements provide the greater potential return the national critical infrastructure security resilience dependency, research and Research and development plan will incorporate the sector-specific research and development plan documents that express the need, priorities of the perspective of the sectors, and then call to action 11, evaluate progress toward the achievement of the goals when much of the groundwork of the integrated evaluation cycle that described in Section 5 already exists. Critical infrastructure partners should participate on the wider, more consistent scale to facilitate understanding progress and adaptive decision-making. The related national goals promote learning and adaptation during, after, an exercise incident. Jointly identify high-level outcomes associated with the national goals, participation, facility evaluation, progress toward goals and priorities. Develop critical infrastructure national annual report and national preparedness report annual through the standardized data state sector-specific agencies, sector partners, and national picture report progress toward national plan vision goal, national preparedness goal, incorporated performance during the state, local, territorial, tribal, regional needs, reflecting progress through the critical infrastructure community at all levels. Call to action 12, learn and adapt during after extra incidents, given the involving nature of the threat of the hazard of nature, aspiration to secure resilient critical infrastructure, achieving only through the collective efforts of the numerous partners grounded in the continuous learning and adaptation, changing of events. Critical infrastructure community can be better realize the opportunity of learning and adaptation during the and after exercise of the incident, more collaborative the exercise design, coordinated lesson learning, corrective action process, streamline and sharing best practices. Our develop conduct, exercise with the participants process with the suit diverse need for the purpose of the broad participation, coordinated with among the government interested, private party sectors, sector partners, and including research development community, exercise and design conduct, evaluation reflect perspective of all matters and maximize value of the future planning and operation. Develop expertise multiple levels of various formats such as suit, national, regional, state, local, and tribal territorial needs. Design exercise reflect lessons learned, test corrective actions, and for previous exercise and incidents that address both physical and cyber threats vulnerabilities. Evaluate transition, steady state, incident response, and recovery efforts. Share lessons learned, corrective actions, exercise, incident. Rapidly incorporate the technical assistance training and education programs to improve the future security and resilient efforts. 2 actions and not intended. exhaustive rather than focus on the other critical infrastructure. Community advanced national efforts towards security is resilient. They're coordinated with a flexible implementation, federal department agency, as well as state, local, territorial, tribal, regional, private sector partnerships, and given them the unique risk of the management perspective, these actions will enable the continuous improvement of security resilience efforts, address both familiar and novel changes. For more information about the National Infrastructure Protective Program, Protective Plan, connect to the Department of Homeland Security -NIPP. And then it shows the acronyms, and then your glossary of terms, and then the national partner structure, and that concludes your reading of the main chapters of the National Infrastructure Program, National Infrastructure Protection Plan 2013 by the Department of Homeland Security.